100% money that's involved in that situation, I think.
There was almost a nuclear plant here in Davenport. I don't know if you know that.
No, that's horrible. And I know we have the nuclear-free zone signs around Santa Cruz. Is that
that came after, long after that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds like that might be a really interesting topic for us to research for a later show. What's going on with the nuclear power plants here in California. Certainly, it's very relevant to the future of everybody on the planet, considering what's happened in Fukushima, Japan, which is another one of those things the mainstream U.S. corporate media doesn't like to talk about very much anymore, but it's still entirely relevant. There's radiation in the water. It affects us all, especially right here on the California coast. We're kind of the front line, so to speak, of the fallout pollution. So getting back to Ron here, you were saying that you thought your run for city council, you were surprised by sort of you use the word brutal and the ruthlessness of the powers that be. I remember there's a certain newspaper in town that ran a little piece about you, and how did that go?
Which one are you referring to?
Sentinel, yeah.
Oh, well, they ran a lot of pieces. Essentially, every time they ran a piece, whatever it was like, oh, that retired fire captain, he makes $100,000 a year in retirement, and he's destroying the public sector with that amount of usurious wealth that he's extracted. It's all his fault, the collapse of the public sector.
Well, aren't you?
So, yeah.
I
mean, I am.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting the retirement, but is that destroying the public sector?
No. Clearly
okay.
Not. First off, I was a San Jose firefighter. First off, secondly,
and thank you for that, by the way.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Essentially, it was a contract, negotiated deal. So instead of getting wages, we got it in the form of a benefit in our retirement. So in no way, I mean, I paid. I'm getting my money back. It was a contribution I pay, and the city would match it.
Oh, I see.
And so it's nothing.
So it's not like you're sucking off the taxpayer like you're some kind of oil company or something like that. No. Okay.
We've become scapegoats. Yeah. We fire teachers, public sector workers in general. People
who do really important work that helps the society be able to move forward, really. Yeah,
I would say.
And ensure public safety and all those sorts of things. Absolutely. So Ron, what do you think about the current city council, and what are your thoughts on how the political situation just locally here in Santa Cruz could be improved upon?
I would begin by saying what we have now, the great majority, it's generally a 5-2, 6-1 vote along the lines of centrist democratic business interest council. What's good for business, it's kind of like the old line, what's good for GM is good for America. Well,
right.
What's good for business is good for Santa Cruz. And I don't start from that premise. Business interests, I support. I'm a member of Think Local First, and I support local business as long as they are sensitive to community needs, interests, they take care of their workers. Absolutely, I support them wholeheartedly. But they are not number one. They're not the supreme interest of our community.
Well, the purpose of a business is to serve the public. I mean, that's why we incorporate businesses is so that the public can have goods and service delivered to us. The point I'm making is that it's the public that's really primary there.
Well, the public should be.
In theory.
That's theory, correct. What we have is, actually, I would have to take a step back from that they should be serving the community interests first and foremost, but basically they're covering their bottom line.
Right.
They want to make money. So that's where business starts, and then secondarily, they'll take care of business interests. And so we need to support good businesses. It does fund the services that have been fought for the last 25, 30 years.
But they're not necessarily the only voice that should have say in City Hall.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think you'd run for City Council again?
I am contemplating that. At this point, I am undecided. I am strongly leaning against it.
Oh, really?
I'm feeling very comfortable and fulfilled in all the projects and issues that I have been working on over the last year and a half.
Well, I'm going to reveal my own personal bias here and say that I think you should run for city council again, and I intend to do everything I can to persuade you of that fact, and I would love to help you out with your campaign if and when that happens. So yes, I am biased. That's fine. That's okay. People are allowed to have opinions, even talk show hosts. All right, Denica, do you have any questions you want to ask Ron just to end up this interview? And
yeah, I was going to ask, what are your thoughts on the emphasis on funding police versus firefighters, because you were a firefighter?
Well, I have a bias towards, it's hard to be objective.
Yeah,
having
exactly.
a 29-year career in the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
I think, police serve a purpose, and they can and have at times been very good in taking care of general, the common folk of town. I think, unfortunately, their view of the world is enforcement.
Exactly.
And I think there's limitations. You can't put a police officer on every corner.
sort of like if all you have is a hammer, you think everything is a nail. Exactly right.
That's exactly.
Yeah. So if you're looking through things through an enforcement frame of mind, that will lead you to one set of conclusions that you might not come to otherwise.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm of the mind I would like to see pretty much like what happened in NOLO in the lower ocean area.
NOLO is
neighbors of lower ocean. And they had a profound problem for a long period of time, everything from prostitution and drug dealing, and they didn't feel safe going out on their street, and they organized, and it took them a while to get police to see what they were talking about, and the decision makers of the city, and essentially they did a fantastic job in taking back their, I don't kind of like that word because I'm not a fan of take back Santa Cruz, but they've reclaimed their community within that area and made it a lot safer and friendlier, and kids could ride around on their bikes now, and they can walk around at night, and it's quite a transformation that's occurred in that area.
Yeah.
So that's kind of for the view that I would want to see, and I don't think the current council is there, and the power of organizing and participatory democracy.
Organizing people on a grassroots level, if you have an issue with something that's going on in your neighborhood, like let's work it out with your neighbors.
Yeah, restorative justice, that's a big concept.
Yes.
That I think we need to get into, and I was going to make the point that I think the firefighters deserve way more funding, whereas the police funding needs to be scaled back dramatically, but I've been abused by police myself, so I have a difference. I am also biased, I guess you could say. But I really appreciate what the firefighters do. I think that there's a totally different motivation in becoming a firefighter versus a law enforcement officer, what have you, a peace officer, if you want to say that. Somebody was walking by with a rabbit earlier.
Oh yeah, there's rabbits here. Yeah, and that was if you couldn't see in the video, that was the people from the pet store had some parrots and they're perched on their dashboard. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Ron. Well, hey, thanks for coming on.
I do want to just put a plug for
please do.
Those that aren't quite aware yet of the desalination issue.
Oh, that's right. We were going to talk about that.
I just want to mention.
Remember now.
I have a petition if anybody needs to sign it. And once again, it's sort of the need for people to take control of their city when their elected officials aren't.
It's kind of a big boondoggle project that's being. I mean. I really got the impression from attending city council meetings that it seems like this is the next big thing that they want no matter what.
Yeah, that's correct. At whatever cost.
They've already spent $12.5 million on it. That's $12.5 million that could have gone to keeping Harvey West Pool open, or to helping people living on the streets right now get into housing. I mean, that's all kinds of things that could have been spent on besides desalination.
In fairness, they'd say that's enterprise fund money, and you could only use it for water-related issues.
Oh, they always say that.
So what we could say is the $220,000 that was just lost, I believe, by a sweetheart crony capitalist deal on the hole in the ground project at the end of the mall that the city just lost. Now that's the kind of money that could be utilized towards. I mean, the city, in their magnanimous fashion now, has found $15,000 to get the pool open. Well, that means there has to be a lot of their fundraising. That's for 10 weeks. So it's long overdue, whereas the funding sources...
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, the Veterans Memorial building is still empty, and that's county. Yeah, that's important to make that distinction.
But
for sure.
Beach Flats Community Center was defunded. Loudon Nelson's been cut back. Teen Center. These to me are the critical pieces of our community that
kind of a life support system for the community.
Expensive.
Yeah,
that's the crazy part.
Wow.
Of it. But they could find money for
desalination. The police budget has gone up. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's money there. It's the political decision.
The political will.
What pushed me to run.
On what to spend money on, unfortunately.
Well, and I would really...
I like some vision.
Along those lines, I would really encourage people to start getting more involved in city politics. Start coming to city council meetings. Don't take our word for it. Go to the city council meeting and find out for yourself what really goes on there. That's how I educated myself about a lot of what's going on in the city. And because I think it's really going to take an upsurge of people power to challenge and change the status quo. If people don't do anything about it, things aren't going to change. If people do something about it, there's a chance things will change. Yeah. Absolutely. All right, hey Ron, well thank you very much for coming on the show. And